One of the really strange things that's happened that a lot of people don't know about is that since 2004 till last year, 2,000 newspapers went out of business in the United States. Now, there are still about 7,000 left, but a good chunk of them have closed their doors permanently. Some were weeklies and some were dailies. In some of those places, if there are no other, substantial local news options, those places become what's been called news deserts, where really, of course, you can watch cable news and maybe hear talk radio, but you're not going to get the reporting on the city council, the local school board, the garbage pickup, how your hospital is doing with COVID. All of that has dried up. And when local news reporters aren't able to get out to the council meetings or aren't able to develop their sources, a lot of corruption can flourish. Local political officials can run wild with your tax dollars, and there's nobody there to keep an eye on it. And that's a really serious situation.
What would you say to people who don't think their local newspaper or outlets that cover their community are that important? They say, we can get everything on Facebook. If it's that important, I'll see it or I'll find it.
If there aren't reporters out on the streets and in these meetings and holding public officials accountable, our democracy actually doesn't work anymore. I mean, the framers of the Constitution really were clear about the fact that in order to have this government for the people and by the people, that the people needed to be well informed, not just about what's happening in Washington, but what's happening in their own towns and cities. So if you care about, the way America is supposed to work, I think we really need local journalism, and that comes from the people.
Margaret, in your book, you mention many case studies of when a lack of local news really affected voting.
So when local news declines, some really remarkable things happen. People become less civically engaged. They basically become not as active citizens as they were before. And they actually vote less. But when they do vote, they vote almost strictly or much more strictly along party lines. So they don't, consider the qualities of the different candidates or who they like. It's more just they go into their kind of partisan corners. And so you're either going to be down the line Democratic or down the line Republican without a lot of nuance. And so it gets to be kind of that social media or Facebook thing where you're hearing a lot of what's in your echo chamber already, and you don't get outside that through having this kind of shared basis of facts.
We've seen billionaires swoop in and rescue struggling newspapers. In fact, the newspaper you work for, the Washington Post, was really rescued by Jeff Bezos. Talk about the business model that is taken over.
I mean, for a long time, the business model was sort of easy for newspapers. They had a lot of advertising revenue, and because maybe there wasn't a lot of competition for where to put your advertising dollars, if you were a car dealer, supermarket chain, travel agency, whatever it might be, or if you were selling something, classified advertising, you put it in the newspaper. But with the onset of Craigslist and really the internet in general, a lot of that print advertising has just gone away. And so we're looking for kind of other ways to support newspapers. And one of the ways is through philanthropy. Can there be nonprofit news organizations where people actually donate in order to, shore this up? So we're just looking for sort of a whole other way of supporting journalism. And one of the really key things I'd really love to get across is that it's still really important for people to support their local newspaper or their local news organization if they possibly can. Because whether we like the ownership or not, it's the reporters and the editors and it's the work they're doing that's so important.
I don't think we can deal with any more bad news, Margaret. Is there hope on the horizon other than a philanthropic approach?
So it's kind of a funny thing because there's not one answer. It's kind of a lot of different things. One of the things I think is really important is to find ways to shore up actual newspapers that exist. Like, let's not let the Miami Herald, which basically uncovered the Jeffrey Epstein story, let's not let them go out of business or get so small that they can't do the work that they need to do. And one of the key ways with that is by, buying your subscription and supporting it.